It's summer 2020, and one of the most anticipated new series is a Japanese anime based on a Korean comic, funded by an American corporation. The anime landscape has really changed for better or worse, so to find out more about the show, here are 5 things you need to know about the God of High School. You don't make a webtoon all about fighting tournaments without a bit of inspiration from the world of fighting games. Author Young-Jae Park talks about his time playing Street Fighter, Tekken, and King of Fighters during middle and high school, and a big part of those games for him was the stories that the designs tell. For instance, what is the background of these characters that led to their fighting abilities and participation in this tournament? And why is there a bear here? You know, all the normal questions. But when it comes to the actual fights, his inspirations lie largely in American film. Crunchyroll released a 4-minute interview with him, and most of that is just him listing off films he likes. One thing he points out is that films like John Wick and Jason Bourne have anime-like action being realized in live action. He then speaks about Captain America, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. It's clear that he's a fan of superhero movies, specifically when they're fighting with their fists. During the interview, they also showed off clips of actors performing in motion capture suits. That motion capture data was then turned into 3D animation, which the animators would use as a reference for the 2D animation. In that way, the 2D anime is inspired by actual real-life fight choreography. Studio Mappa actually did the same for Yuri on Ice, where they would have professional ice skaters perform routines on the ice, wearing a band on one arm and one leg. Then those performances would be made into 3D, and finally, animators would create the final scene. Speaking of Yuri on Ice, the director of God of High School, Sung-Ho Park, created the opening for that show. This involved directing it, but also primarily animating it himself in just 2 weeks. Then in 2017, he made his directorial debut with the Garo Vanishing Line TV series, and now this year, he's directing both Jujutsu Kaisen and the God of High School, 2 action-heavy shows. Some might think that he's in charge of God of High School because he's Korean, like the author, but the truth is, he's just one of the few directors at Mappa good enough to handle a show so filled with action. This is a Crunchyroll original series, and they will not be letting you forget it. This basically means that the show is funded at least in part by the streaming platform, and will be available outside Japan exclusively on their service. But it can also mean a few other things. See, Crunchyroll is a part of the Warner Media Group, and these connections mean that they can bring on music artists to do the OP and ED who are signed with Warner Media, and that's exactly what they did with God of High School's OP artist, Keisuke, signed with Warner Japan, and the ED artists, K-pop group CIX, who signed with Warner Japan after making their Japanese debut. We get the same with Aniplex shows and Sony Music artists as well. It's all very corporate, but it does mean that we're introduced to great artists who you wouldn't normally expect to hear in anime. Thanks for watching OTAQUEST in Japan. Feel free to subscribe to find out more about the art and creation of Japanese pop culture.